Hey you, welcome back. This is chapter 3, part 2 of A Wizard of Earthsea. The last few sentences. It spoke in what Jed guessed might be the speech of Osgil. Terranon Uzbuk, it said, croaking. Terranon Uzbuk Orek, and it strutted off as it had come. Jed turned to leave the courtyard, wondering where he should go. Under the archway, he was met by a tall youth who greeted him very courteously, bowing his head. I am called Jasper, Enwit's son of the domain of Ilg on Havnor Isle. I am at your service today to show you about the great house and to answer your questions as I can. How shall I call you, sir? Now it seemed to Jed, a mountain villager who had never been among the sons of rich merchants and noblemen, that this fellow was scoffing at him with his service and his sir, and his bowing and scraping. He answered shortly, Sparrowhawk, they call me. The other waited a moment, as if expecting some more mannerly response, and, getting none, straightened up and turned a little aside. He was 2 or 3 years older than Jed, very tall, and he moved and carried himself with a stiff grace, posing, Jed thought, like a dancer. He wore a gray cloak with hood thrown back. The first place he took Jed was the wardrobe room, where, as a student of the school, Jed might find himself another such cloak that fitted him, and any other clothing he might need. He put on a dark gray cloak he had chosen, and Jasper said, Now you are one of us. Jasper had a way of smiling faintly as he spoke, which made Jed look for a jeer hidden in his polite words. Do clothes make them age? He answered, sullen. No, said the older boy, though I have heard that manners make the man. Where now? Where you will. I do not know the house. Jasper took him down the corridors of the great house, showing him the open courts and the roofed halls, the rooms of shelves where the books of lore and rune tombs were kept, the great hearth hall where all the school gathered on festival days, and upstairs, in the towers and under the roofs, the small cells where the students and masters slept. Jed's was in the south tower, with a window looking down over the steep roofs of Thwill Town to the sea. Like the other sleeping cells, it had no furnishings but a straw-filled mattress in the corner. We live very plainly here, said Jasper, but I expect you won't mind that. I'm used to it. Presently, trying to show himself an equal of this polite, disdainful youth, he added, I suppose you weren't when you first came. Jasper looked at him, and his look said without words, What could you possibly know about what I, son of the lord of the domain of Ilg on the Isle of Havnor, am or am not used to? What Jasper said aloud was simply, Come this way. A gong had been rung while they were upstairs, and they came down to eat the noon meal at the long table of the refectory, along with 100 or more boys and young men. Each waited on himself, joking with the cooks through the window hatches of the kitchen that opened into the refectory, loading his plate from great bowls of food that steamed on the sills, sitting where he pleased at the long table. They said, Jasper told Jed, that no matter how many sit at this table, there is always room. Certainly, there is room both for many noisy groups of boys talking and eating mightily, and for older fellows, their gray cloaks clasped with silver at the neck, who sat more quietly, by pairs or alone, with grave, pondering faces, as if they had much to think about. Jasper. Jasper took Jed to sit with a heavy-set fellow called Vetch, who said nothing much but shoveled in his food with a will. He had the accent of the East Reach and was very dark of skin, not red-brown like Jed and Jasper and most folk of the archipelago, but black-brown. He was plain, and his manners were not polished. He grumbled about the dinner when he had finished it, but then, turning to Jed, said, "At least it's not illusion, like so much around here. It sticks to your ribs." Jed did not know what he meant, but he felt a certain liking for him, and was glad when, after the meal, he stayed with them. They went down into the town, that Jed might learn his way about it. Few and short were the streets of Thwil. They turned and twisted curiously among the high-roofed houses, and the way was easy to lose. It was a strange town, and strange also its people, fishermen and workmen and artisans like any others, but so used to the sorcery that is ever at play on the Isle of the Wise, that they seemed half sorcerers themselves. They talked, as Jed had learned, in riddles, and not one of them would blink to see a boy turn into a fish or a house fly up in the air, but knowing it for a schoolboy prank, they would go on cobbling shoes or cutting up mutton, unconcerned. Coming up past the back door and around through the gardens of the great house, the three boys crossed the clearing running Thwilburn on a wooden bridge, and went on northward among the woods and pastures. The path climbed and wound. They passed oak groves where shadows lay thick for all the brightness of the sun. There was one grove not far away to the left that Jed could never quite see plainly. The path never reached it, though it always seemed to be about to. He could not even make out what kind of trees they were. Vetch, seeing him gazing, said softly, "That is the imminent grove. We can't come there, yet." In the hot sunlit pastures, yellow flowers bloomed. Sparkweed, said Jasper. They grow where the winds drop the ashes of burning Ilion, where Erith Akbi defended the inward isles from the Fire Lord. He blew on a withered flower head, and the seeds, shaken loose, went up on the wind like sparks of fire in the sun. The path led them up and around the base of a great green hill, round and treeless, the hill that Jed had seen from the ship as they entered the charmed waters of Roke Island. On the hillside, Jasper halted. "At home in Havnor, I heard much about Gontish wizardry, and always in praise, so that I've wanted for a long time to see the manner of it. Here now we have a Gontishman, and we stand on the slopes of Roke Knoll, where roots go down to the center of the earth. All spells are strong here. Play us a trick, Sparrowhawk. Show us your style." Jed, confused and taken aback, said nothing. "Later on, Jasper," Vetch said in his plain way. "Let him be a while. He has either skill or power, or the doorkeeper wouldn't have let him in. Why shouldn't he show it, now as well as later? Right, Sparrowhawk?" "I have both skill and power," Jed said. "Show me what kind of thing you're talking about." "Illusions, of course. Tricks, games of seeming, like this." Pointing his finger, Jasper spoke a few strange words, and where he pointed on the hillside, Among the green grasses, a little thread of water trickled and grew, and now a spring gushed out, and the water went running down the hill. Jed put his hand in the stream and felt wet, drank of it, and it was cool. Yet for all that, it would quench no thirst, being but illusion. Jasper, with another word, stopped the water, and the grasses waved dry in the sunlight. "Now you, Vetch," he said with his cool smile. Vetch scratched his head and looked glum, but he took up a bit of earth in his hand and began to sing tunelessly over it, molding it with his dark fingers and shaping it, pressing it, stroking it. And suddenly it was a small creature, like a bumblebee or a furry fly, that flew humming over Roca Knoll and vanished. Jed stood, staring, crestfallen. What did he know but mere village witchery? Spells to call goats, cure warts, or move loads or mend pots. I do no such tricks as these," he said. That was enough for Vetch, who was for going on. But Jasper said, "Why don't you?" "Sorcery is not a game. We Gontish men do not play it for pleasure or praise," Jed answered haughtily. "What do you play it for?" Jed inquired. "Money?" "No," but he could not think of anything more to say that would hide his ignorance and save his pride. Jasper laughed, not ill-humoredly, and went on, leading them on around Roke Knoll. Whoops, I got lost there myself for a little pastime. And Jed followed. Excuse me. Jasper laughed, not ill-humoredly, and went on, leading them on around Roke Knoll. And Jed followed, sullen and sore-hearted, knowing he had behaved like a fool, and blaming Jasper for it. Good night.